Your Excellency, distinguished guests, members of the press, colleagues, friends, and students, wish you all a very good morning. We will begin this special session titled Afghanistan-India Partnership for Development by screening a short film on Symbiosis, showcasing where, why, and how the journey began.
This is the story of a man who dared to dream and persevere to make his dream come true. The story of one Indian who thought differently and made a huge difference to the lives of thousands of students all over the world. Dr. Majumdar, who was the rector of the boys' hostel, was spending a quiet afternoon in his quarters. All the students had left for the Diwali vacation. Only the foreign students stayed back. His attention was suddenly drawn by the sight of a girl student. She was standing under a window of the boys' hostel, secretly passing a small parcel to a boy inside. Suspecting some mischief, Dr. Majumdar went to the room to investigate. What he saw left him disturbed and distressed. The girl had gone to give some food to a Mauritian boy who was suffering from jaundice. The incidents left a deep impact on Dr. Majumdar's mind and a deeper void in his heart. He was determined to improve the plight of these international students. His mind was made up. He decided to establish an institute where these foreign students would be able to study with Indian students in an atmosphere of peace and harmony.
Symbiosis was started in 1971 primarily for the welfare of foreign students studying in Pune. But after a few years we thought that education is perhaps the best medium to promote international understanding between foreign and Indian students, because we believed that foreign and Indian students can study together, read together in libraries, stay together in the hostel, play together on the playground, and that is how we started various educational institutions.
The mission of Symbiosis is to promote international understanding through quality education, and we have students from different states of India as well as different parts of the world. Our thrust is not only to provide excellence in academics, but to mold personalities of these young minds who come to study with us, to provide a value-based education so that when these students leave the portals of Symbiosis International University, they are better global citizens.
I feel very lucky to be here because it's just simply a way home from home.
I feel very privileged to be the part of Symbiosis since I come across with different people from different countries and background.
The recreation facilities over here are great. They have all the sports facilities, football, yoga, gym, and everything possible, and so much of nature around us.
That's how Symbiosis University is a brand now for its brand in the education sector of the nation.
Education is an important aspect of growing up in this modern society. And I'm delighted that Dr. Mujumdar has spent 40 years of time and energy in building foundation that thousands and thousands of young can benefit from.
The environment that Symbiosis is providing all of you, one day you will be proud enough to say that you are these students from Symbiosis who were responsible for making India the #1 nation.
May I now invite Your Excellency and all the other dignitaries to please come up on the dais. Thank you. Dignitaries on the dais, the chief guest, His Excellency Mr. Hamid Karzai, GCMG, President of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, Honorable Shri K. Shankaranarayanan, Governor of Maharashtra, Dr. S.B. Mujumdar, Chancellor, Symbiosis International University, Dr. Vidya Yerevtekar, Principal Director, Symbiosis, Dr. Rajni Gupte, Vice Chancellor, Symbiosis International University, Dr. A.V. Sangamnerkar, Vice President, Symbiosis, and Ambassador Sudhi Devre, convener of the conference. It is indeed a pleasure and a privilege to have all of you here this morning on the concluding day of the Conference on International Relations, India and Development Partnerships in Asia and Africa towards a new paradigm. Organized by Symbiosis Institute of International Studies with support from the Public Diplomacy Division, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. I would now like to request Dr. Vidya Yerevtekar, Principal Director, Symbiosis, the primary mover of this conference, to give her introductory remarks. Dr. Vidya.
The chief guest for today, His Excellency, Mr. Hamid Karzai, Honorable President, Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, His Excellency, Shri K. Shankaranarayanan, Governor of Maharashtra, Dr. S.B. Mujumdar, sir, the Chancellor of the Symbiosis International University, Dr. Rajni Gupte, the Vice Chancellor of the Symbiosis International University, Dr. Sangamnerkar, the Vice President of Symbiosis Society, Ambassador Devre, the convener of the conference and the Ram Sathe Chair in International Studies, dignitaries from almost 20 different countries, invited guests, faculty members, and my dear student friends. Salam alaikum, Kush Omedi, Dar Symbiosis International University. Sir, His Excellency, it is indeed a historic day for Symbiosis today. It was our long-cherished dream to invite His Excellency, the President of Afghanistan, Mr. Hamid Karzai, to Symbiosis. So you're already aware that the city of Pune is known as the Oxford of the East. It draws the largest number of international students from all over the world since times immemorial. You're also aware that my father, Dr. Mujumdar, has spent 40 years of his life for international students. Symbiosis International University draws the largest number of students. We have over 3,000 students, international students from 85 different countries. Let me also tell you that you will be pleased to know that the largest number of students in Pune are from Afghanistan. There are over 4,000 students from Afghanistan in the city of Pune, and the largest number in Symbiosis as well. So most of these students come on ICCR scholarships. And most of the times, ICCR scholarships are given to undergraduate universities and colleges and not to postgraduate programs. So the ICCR scholars either have to go back home or fund their studies for their MBA or other postgraduate programs. Dr. Muzumdar sir has been kind enough that through the Chancellor scholarships, we have tried to help most ICCR scholars for postgraduate studies as well. Let me also inform you, His Excellency, that we have helped by giving total free ships to Afghanistan students. And let me quote 2 examples. One, a student called Wahid, who came from a very small village in Afghanistan, came as an ICCR scholar, did his BCom at Symbiosis Arts and Commerce College, and had no money to study further. Dr. Muzumdar sir was kind enough to give him total free ship to study on this very campus at one of our top-ranked institutions, which is called SIBM. He completed his MBA program and was such a sincere student that he was placed on campus with the highest salary, more than even an Indian student. I can give you several such examples. The student who is in the film called Riaz did his MBA in information technology and today is placed in the United States of America with a very high package. What I'm trying to emphasize is that Symbiosis does help countries in capacity building and building the human resource. And most importantly, Symbiosis has gone a long way to help students from Afghanistan and your country for capacity building and human resource development. So we will be happy that we work closely with your government to come up with some kind of arrangement where we can help your students come here, we can send teachers to your university, and we hope that your topic for discussion, which talks about Afghanistan-India development, will come into reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. I would now like to request Dr. S.B. Muzumdar, Chancellor, Symbiosis International University, to felicitate the chief guest for the day, His Excellency Mr. Hamid Karzai, GCMG, President of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. Sir will now also felicitate Honorable Shri K. Shankara Narayanan, Governor of Maharashtra. Thank you, sir. As is the Symbiosis tradition, the international students will present their national flags as a mark of honor to the chief guest. I request the international students to please come and present their flags in the pot kept in the front of the table. The students will be coming in from the following countries and will represent their countries in the following order, which is in alphabetical order. They are Afghanistan, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Burundi, Congo, Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Fiji, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Iran, Italy, Jordan, Libya, Mauritius, Mongolia, Nepal, Niger, Nigeria, Oman, Russia, Somalia, South Sudan, Sri Lanka, Sudan, Tanzania, Tunisia, Turkey, Turkmenistan, Uganda, Uzbekistan, Vietnam, Yemen, The Symbiosis International University flag will now be presented by the Vice Chancellor of Symbiosis International University, Dr. Rajni Gupte. The United Nations flag will be presented by our Chancellor, Dr. S.B. Muzumdar. Thank you, everyone. Known as the father of international students in Pune, Padma Bhushan Dr. S.B. Mazumdar, President of Symbiosis and Chancellor of Symbiosis International University, sowed the seeds of international relations by starting Symbiosis in 1971, an organization established for the welfare of foreign students. May I request you, sir, to please deliver your welcome address.
Today's chief guest, His Excellency Hamid Karzai, His Excellency Sri Shankar Narayanan, the Governor of Maharashtra, Dr. Gupte, the Vice Chancellor of Symbiosis International University, Dr. Vidya, Principal Director of Symbiosis Society, Dr. Sangam Nirkar, the Vice President of Symbiosis Society, delegates, and my student friends. International Relations Conference is being held on the campus of Symbiosis University. Sir, I am happy that you agreed to be the chief guest of the conference, which was not going to be held in any five-star hotel, but on the university campus where thousands of students are studying together. It is a very interesting coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, His Excellency was the chief guest, and he was His Excellency Hamid Ansari. But today, second His Excellency called Hamid is also here as chief guest, and his name is His Excellency Hamid Karzai. So it's a very interesting coincidence to all of us. So for the last 2 days, we have been deliberating on a theme which is important to all of us, and that is international relations. I stand here to share my thoughts as to whether a good quality education to international students can be a soft power which will establish cordial and symbiotic relationships between India and other countries. Sir, I do believe that education is perhaps the most important medium through which international relations can be established. And in our own humble way, sir, we have been doing this for the last 42 years. Ladies and gentlemen, many students from nearly 50 countries presented their country's flags to His Excellency. And all those countries' flags are standing here in a small pot. To me, Your Excellency, it has a great significance. It has a great significance because all flags symbolizing different countries have been put together in a small pot. Now, if those flags are rotated, with considerable speed, the color that will emerge will be white, and white stands for peace. And that is how youth of today, students of today studying in different parts of the world, they are the real vehicles through which cordial international relations can be established. You will agree with me, ladies and gentlemen, that these young students of various countries are really the engines of growth and development. And only education will transform these young youth into human resource. But education, a true education, a quality education will not only transform our youngsters into human resource, but that human resource with a human values. And therefore very often I wonder why Indian students and some foreign students from different countries who are rich go to America, Australia and England for their higher studies. Yes, there the quality of education is good. But it has been my experience, sir, that students who come back from America, they are intelligent, they are very well informed, they are placed in high salaries, but very, very poor moral values. And therefore, in Symbiosis, it is our endeavor to impart quality education based on immutable, immoral values such as honesty, compassion, innovation, and what not. And therefore, I feel that education can contribute to international relations. Well, I do not want to take much of your time because His Excellency Mr. Karzai is going to speak to you in detail. But once again, let me thank profusely from my heart and on behalf of all these students for sparing your time and coming here to our university campus. God bless you.
Thank you, sir, for that inspiring speech. I would now like to request Honorable Shri K. Shankara Narayanan, Governor of Maharashtra, to address the gathering.
His Excellency Mr. Hamid Karzai, Honorable President of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, my esteemed friend Dr. S.B. Mujumdar, Chancellor of Symbiosis International University, Dr. Vidya, Principal Director, Dr. Rajini Gupte, Vice Chancellor, distinguished audience, students, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I extend a very warm welcome to His Excellency President Dr. Hamid Karzai to the state of Maharashtra and to the city of Pune. I had the privilege of receiving President Karzai at Raj Bhavan, Mumbai last year, and it is a great honor for me to meet and welcome him once again. I am indeed delighted to associate myself with the conference on international relations organized by the Symbiosis International University in association with the Public Diplomacy Division of the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. I congratulate Symbiosis for organizing a conference on an important issue like international relations and inviting a host of eminent persons from across the globe to share their thoughts. Excellency President, I have a great admiration for Dr. S.B. Mujumdar, starting a small institution. For decades ago, he has nurtured Symbiosis into a glorious institution by laying thrust on quality, excellence, and internationalization. Today, Symbiosis has become a brand name across various countries. I have no doubt in my mind that Symbiosis will be reckoned among the top educational institutions in the world in the near future. Dear students, let me say a word to you. If somebody asks you where you are studying, I am studying in Symbiosis. That alone will do for your future. Excellency, India and Afghanistan and two of the closest friendly nations. We are bound together by our age-old ties of warmth and affection. Some of the verses of the Rig Veda make references to the rivers and towns of Afghanistan. Even the great epic of Mahabharata has a reference to Gadar, now known as Kandahar. For many centuries, there was free movement of people between the two countries. It is heartening to note that our ties have been renewed in modern times. There have been visits to Afghanistan by the Honorable President, Honorable Prime Minister of India, and reciprocal visits by His Excellency President Karzai. Under the visionary leadership of President Karzai, Afghanistan has been making rapid progress in all areas. I am glad that India has been partnering with Afghanistan in its reconstruction and development. His Excellency President Karzai and Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh have signed the Strategic Partnership Agreement between India and Afghanistan to create an institutional framework for our future cooperation in the fields of political and security cooperation, trade, economic cooperation, capacity building, and education, and social, cultural, civil society, and people-to-people relations. I do believe that while government-to-government partnership is important for strengthening of ties, we also need to promote people-to-people commerce at all levels. As Governor of Maharashtra, I happen to be the Chancellor of 20 universities in Maharashtra, where an estimated 3 million students are pursuing higher and professional education to various streams. This city of Pune is known as the Oxford of the East. Dr. Vidya mentioned about that. And is home to some of the finest educational institutions. A huge number of foreign students from various countries are pursuing higher studies in the University of Pune. There is a great scope for promoting student, youth, and faculty exchanges between the universities of Afghanistan and Maharashtra. Cultural relations between our two great nations are as old as our civilization. In recent times, we get to see the life of Afghanistan through our Hindi movies. The people of India will be only happy to see regular exchange visits by cultural groups in both the countries. Excellency President, one of the biggest achievements of India since attaining independence in 1947 is the strengthening and deepening of its democracy and its democratic institutions. As the largest democratic and developing country in the world, India understands and appreciates the concerns of the developing countries of Asia and Africa. India is committed to extend all possible assistance to the developing nations in Asia and Africa to attain their development goals and to meet the aspirations of the people. The conference is an excellent opportunity for students to understand international relations in their proper perspective, and I'm sure it will be a rewarding experience for all of them. I am as keen to hear President Karzai's keynote address as all of you are. And therefore, I conclude my speech by thanking Symbiosis for inviting me once again and wishing you fruitful deliberations. Jai Hind, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that enlightening speech. The first democratically elected leader of Afghanistan, he is the man who brought stability and economic growth to a country which had not witnessed it for a long, long time. It gives me great pleasure to invite His Excellency, Mr. Hamid Karzai, GCMG, President of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, to deliver his keynote address.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Honorable Governor of Maharashtra, Honorable President of Symbiosis University, Professor Majumdar, ladies and gentlemen on the dais, students, faculty, honorable guests here today, it's a tremendous pleasure for me to be in this prestigious and yet more importantly, visionary institution of learning. Professor Majumdar, I read your biography while in Kabul and on my way to India. And what you just showed us on the video, I read also on my way to India. For you to have a feeling for a student who was ill with jaundice, and for you to recognize the circumstances of his living and to connect that to improvement and to have from that division of a university based on a botanical name of which you are a professor is a remarkable talent. I wish we all had the feeling, the emotions, and then the vision that you showed, resulting in this remarkable university on top of a hill. The Honorable Governor, Shankar Narayanan, was very kind to host me twice. Once in Mumbai, and then last night in cooperation with you for dinner. I'm very pleased. I did not expect such a setting or such a lovely environment. I wish I was younger, so I could have divided time between Pune, Symbiosis, and Shimla. I wouldn't give up on Shimla, but I would have divided the time between the two places. Also, before I go to my own remarks, I heard from Professor Majumdar a remark about studying in India and the studies that a lot of us aspire to have in the West, in America and elsewhere in the West. No doubt, as far as education is concerned, in the dry sense of it, they give you in the West good quality. They make you good engineers, good doctors, sometimes even good political scientists. What they don't give most of the time is a moral value. And that's extremely important for the whole of us around the world, especially for countries like ours who need to move ahead, who need also to be fully endowed with moral qualities. Therefore, I am in full agreement with you. As you know, sir, politicians are rarely in full agreement on anything. But I'm with you in full agreement. The story of Afghanistan and India, as the Honorable Governor referred to, is an old story. It begins long time back, and it will continue for a very long time. From Mahabharata to the centuries of relationship and to the modern times. I would consider the modern times for us to begin to cut a chart in terms of space of time, say, in the later part of 19th century and the whole of the 20th century. This is where Afghanistan and India found a political get-together for two different purposes. Afghanistan, luckily for us, became home for some of the stalwarts of India's movement for independence. Mahendra Pratap and Subhash Chandra Bose both found home in Afghanistan. Actually, there was an effort of a government in exile against the British rule in Afghanistan. Afghanistan did provide what it could to the independence movement of India. Especially, this was true during the reign of King Amanullah, who himself was the first freedom fighter of the country in regaining Afghanistan's foreign policy independence from the then British Raj. From the Indian side, the story was not so much political in the beginning. It was more about providing Afghanistan with better education, even then. So, in the beginning of 20th century, with the establishment of modern schools in Afghanistan, especially one called Habibia, among the oldest schools in Afghanistan, established in the beginning of the 20th century, it was Indian teachers who provided specially training or education in English language and the sciences, mathematics and physics and other subjects. Also, remarkably, this teacher-student and education relationship between Afghanistan and India led to a constitutional monarchical government in Afghanistan, to a movement on it. It was the ideas of the Indian teachers then who were inculcating the idea of a constitutional monarchy in young Afghan students, that the movement for a constitutional monarchy began in Afghanistan. It did not succeed for a long time, and then ultimately Afghanistan suddenly became a republic in 1973. But this deep relationship between Afghanistan and India began to take very deep roots in 2002. With the Bonn Conference in Germany, and with the establishment of the new government in Afghanistan, and with the arrival of the rest of the world in Afghanistan to help Afghanistan fight extremism and terrorism and to rebuild Afghanistan, this is where India showed its color of friendship with Afghanistan. India, as we all know, ladies and gentlemen, is not known to be a traditional donor. But India provided Afghanistan over $2 billion. And over $2 billion of quality money. that every dollar that India assigned to Afghanistan was spent on a project of significance to long-term development and proper infrastructure. India built for us the electricity transmission lines from northern Afghanistan to Kabul and beyond. India is constructing a very lovely building for our parliament. India is building a water dam for us. India has smaller developmental projects all over the country. India rehabilitated the Indira Gandhi Hospital for Children. India provided thousands of scholarships to Afghan students, some of whom are studying here at the Symbiosis University and in other universities in Pune. So India's assistance to Afghanistan is valued in real terms much beyond $2 billion because it is substantially impacting on the quality of life and economic generation in Afghanistan. Now, as the Honorable Governor of Maharashtra referred to, India and Afghanistan have also signed a strategic partnership agreement, meaning that India and Afghanistan see shared interests, shared opportunities, and shared dangers. We all know the story of extremism and terrorism as it is affecting us, both of us, for a long time. So India and Afghanistan have a shared purpose in fighting radicalism, in removing extremism, in making our civilian population safe from bombs and attacks. India and Afghanistan also, in terms of sharing of interests, need to trade with one another and trade beyond one another. That India will, through Afghanistan, have access to Central Asia, which India calls Connect Central Asia plan or vision, which Afghanistan also in India sees a vast market for all of our goods. So if you can have an access to the Indian market, Afghanistan need not go to the rest of the world. We will sell all our goods in here. India and Afghanistan also have a long-term vision. We are both democratic countries. You are an old, established democracy. We are a new, rising democracy. But both of us have proven in our vision for a democratic life that, as against the predictions with regard to Indian democracy almost 65 years ago in part of the world press of pessimism for India being a country with huge illiteracy, poor economy, and the predictions that a country with these two deficiencies would not be a strong democracy, India proved them wrong. India emerged to be the biggest democracy in the world and indeed the best democracy in the world. There has not been an instant of hesitation in the Indian public on the democratic values that they have taken to their hearts. Afghanistan proved the same. Against all odds, the Afghan people came out to vote and participate. The democratic practice in Afghanistan is well established. We remember stories, I'm sure similar stories must have been there 65 years ago after India's independence when you were electing your new parliament. I don't know if it was 1952 or 51, probably 52, the first parliament, 52. Must have been the same stories as we saw in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, in the province of Farah, an elderly woman comes to the voting station where she wants to cast her vote. And when she casts her vote, she has another card with her and says, I want to vote for my daughter too. The registrar of the voting station tells her that you can't do that. And vote is an individual and nobody else can vote on behalf of another person. She says, but she's my daughter. And she has asked me to vote for her. They say, no, bring her. She says, I can't bring her because she's right now giving birth to a baby, so I can't bring her. They said, no, you cannot vote, so go back and she may not vote. And this woman returns later in the afternoon bringing the daughter that has just delivered a baby to vote in the elections. This is honorable ladies and gentlemen, the shared vision that the two countries have in democracy and the strength of democracy and the values that we share. Now, we also need to have societies that are economically well off. We also need to have progress in science and technology. We also need to be part of the rest of the world, which we luckily are. For that, India's role in Afghanistan in raising Afghan capacity to reach where we want to reach, which is a more well-off society, a more educated society, a more connected to the world society, India's role is immense. As I referred to earlier, education is such fundamentally strong area of Indian support to Afghanistan. We have nearly 10,000 Afghan students here in India, some of them on India government scholarship, some of them on Afghan government scholarship, some of them with their own resources and of their own will. This, ladies and gentlemen, the Afghan people will never forget, because India was the pioneer in providing education to Afghans and coming to us and saying, we will take 1,000 students from Afghanistan per year and we'll distribute them all along India to study. And you don't see the impact here in Symbiosis because you are already in an established academic institution. We see it in Afghanistan because of the 30 years that we have lost in training our youth, in educating our people. Each return of these students back to Afghanistan brings an improved quality of services to our country, be it in engineering, be it in civil services, in computer sciences, in all walks of life. We now have lab technicians, we now have computer science experts, we now have better engineers, we now have better managers.
We have a lot better skilled human resource base than we ever had before. Give us another 10 years and give us the help that you've been providing in the past 10 years. We'll be 3 times the abilities of today. And continue that for another
10 years, take it into 20 years, Afghanistan will have stabilized itself into a society, into a country that can cater for its own needs in a manner suitable to us. That contribution of India is massive. So, this brings us to economic cooperation. What is it that Afghanistan can do for India? Afghanistan, as I referred to earlier, is the roundabout of the region. The Central Asian, the West Asian, and the South Asian region. Wherever you want to go across India and Pakistan towards the north or the west, you have to go through Afghanistan. Afghanistan is working all means available to provide India with such an opening to Central Asia and to West Asia. The Chabahar port in Iran is one that both countries are considering, where we have spoken with the government of Iran, where this facility can be provided to India and Afghanistan for better trade and for better investment opportunities by Indian enterprises in Afghanistan. Afghanistan also is, as those in economy and in the media know, among the richest countries in the world in mineral resources. And India is among the fastest rising countries in the world in industrial development and technology and the need for such resources. Now, Afghanistan, by way of its emotions towards India, and by way of the short distance between us in India, and by way of the deep linkages between us in India, is the best place for Indian enterprises, government and non-government, in other words, private and public ventures into Afghan mineral resources, from the iron ore, wherein a conglomerate of Indian companies have taken interest, to the rare earth materials, the scientists here know what I'm talking about, to the petroleum resources, and to all other walks of industrial and economic activity. This cooperation, this vision, political, social, which means also educational, economic, and ways beyond into the strategic realm of affairs, makes relations between India and Afghanistan among the strongest of relations between any countries in the world. This also provides India a vision of its own cooperation with the rest of the world. If you multiply the example of Afghanistan and India and apply it to other countries, the world definitely, as Professor Majumdar said, will be a color white, and it will mean peace. And it is that color white and peace that the relations of Afghanistan and India are directed at, especially in our region, which is troubled for years by war and upheavals. And that should be our purpose in this very beautiful, colorful Afghan-Indian relationship. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us on the various aspects of Afghanistan-India development partnerships. I would now like to request Dr. Rajni Gupte, Vice Chancellor, Symbiosis International University, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed dignitaries on the dais, His Excellency Mr. Hamid Karzai, Honorable President, Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, Honorable Shri Shankar Narayanan, Governor of Maharashtra, Dr. S.B. Muzumdar, Chancellor, Symbiosis International University, Dr. Vidya Yaravdekar, Principal Director, Symbiosis, Dr. Sangam Nerkar, Vice President, Symbiosis, Dr. Devre, Convener of this conference. Last night, I opened my file that I have been using for this IR conference, a file that has been my companion for several months now. I looked at the oldest paper, the first paper in the file, where Dr. Vidya and I, a few of us, had chalked out a broad outline of this conference. We had written down the names of people and designations of people who we wished would be a part of this conference. I am sure you have guessed that the Honorable President of Afghanistan was, of course, on this wish list. Amazingly, practically everyone we had wished for then is here at this conference. This can only be God's grace. His Excellency, Mr. Hamid Karzai, Honorable President, Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, I am privileged to thank you for delivering the keynote address at the International Relations Conference 2013. Your presence here in India, I am sure, will help build stronger relations between our two nations. Honorable Shri Shankar Narayanan, Governor of Maharashtra, Sir, words are not adequate to thank you for your blessings to Symbiosis and your gracious presence at the inaugural session yesterday and today. This event has been graced by ministers from India and overseas, former ambassadors, government officials, corporate leaders, thought leaders, and academicians from various think tanks. My sincere thanks to all of them. Without their participation, this event would never have taken off the ground. Dr. S.B. Muzumdar, Chancellor, Symbiosis International University. Sir, all of us at Symbiosis are indeed blessed to have you as our mentor. I, on behalf of each one of them, thank you for making such an event possible. Dr. Vidya Yaravdekar, Principal Director, Symbiosis. Ma'am, every bit of the success of this grand conference we owe to you and your untiring efforts. Thank you ever so much. Ambassador Sudhir Devre, the convener of the conference, our advisory board, Mr. Dilip Padgaonkar, Ambassador Prakash Shah, the Public Diplomacy Division, Ministry of External Affairs, every team that has worked tirelessly to make this event a reality, I thank you all. I, for one, have been enriched by the excellent presentations and the interactions yesterday and today, and I'm sure the rest of today will be no different. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We are very honored to have President Karzai fill in the visitor's book. Thank you, sir. With that, we come to the end of this special session. The audience is please requested to remain seated while the dignitaries leave the dais.